Black Panther the other night, and I liked it for the most part. Wasn't so bad. There's a few things bothered me though. Now, the entire time I was watching Black Panther, I was mostly enjoying it. I mean, it's an action movie, it's a comic book movie. So I'm not going to be overly, critical or nitpicky about Black Panther because I mostly liked it. I think it did exactly kind of what everyone expected it was going to do, which was be a fun action movie, superhero with some good characters and, a compelling storyline. Okay, so here's how I would have done it. So here's what I would have changed about Black Panther. And that's sort of what this channel is about. It's either going to be taking a really terrible movie that had a cool premise and showing how it could have been really great, or a really good movie that could have been great. And I think that Black Panther was a really good movie that could have been great, had it just focused on a couple things differently. One, it needed to have a narrower scope of what it was paying attention to. There's a lot of scenes in the movie that are serviceable, that are perfectly fine, but they just don't really advance the plot or the main characters of the plot. For example, Martin Freeman's character. I guess it's perfectly fine, but what is he really contributing to that movie, right? He comes in, he says some stuff, and then they end up bringing him back to Wakanda to fix him, and then the whole time he's sort of just there, he serves as this way to explain who Killmonger is, which is the most infuriating part of the movie. They go, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And Martin Freeman pops in and goes, oh yeah, we know that guy. He's actually this super insane killer, and he worked for us in Black Ops, and he's killed 1 billion people, and he was so good at killing and loved it so much we called him Killmonger, and yeah, he's crazy dangerous and stuff, and anyways, yeah, that's him. I'm why would you just tell us that, right? This is one of the main characters of the movie, and you're just gonna have Martin Freeman just give all that information. You're not gonna show any of that. There's not gonna be any development. I mean, when you have a movie that's 2 hours long that has a big story, all of your screen time is valuable. It's so valuable. Did we really need Martin Freeman at the end of that movie in the VR plane or whatever, shooting down the transport ships? Oh no, this nail biter of a scene. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna make it? Is he gonna shoot down? Is he gonna get shot in the camera? It's stupid. We all know he's gonna shoot down all the transport ships. We all know that little bug ship is not gonna break through and kill him. It's this fake stakes. It's this fake anxiety that just doesn't work at all, and there's no reason for it. You didn't need that at all. It's the same thing with the gorilla tribe up in the mountains. If this had been a serialized show where it was stretched over a season or two, that would have been a cool side for the characters to interact with, because I like the idea that even though Wakanda is this grand nation with all these really cool principles and ideas and technology and their way of life, that they're still sort of fractured, and there is sort of some infighting, but it doesn't really advance the plot. And even when there's a chance for it to advance the plot or to make something of the characters, it doesn't. He comes down, he challenges him, Black Panther, the main gorilla guy, who, by the way, was funny, a good actor, and he loses. He goes back. You don't see him at all until the royal family, runs for their lives, and they show up to him, and he's and they offer him, the power of the Black Panther in this glowing jello shot, and instead of him taking it and being you know what, you're right, I would love to have the power of the Black Panther, that's kind of why I almost died trying to depose him, they go, oh no, you know what, you should give that to the actual Black Panther. Oh, we didn't tell you? Oh, we found him at the bottom of a waterfall, and we didn't tell you, he's been in this ice box over here in the corner because, we didn't want him to die. So, I don't know. Go ahead, you can have him and give him his power back. Okay. And then, no, we're not going to help you fight. Yes, you are. You're going to show up. But they don't need him at the end of it's not like it turned the tide in that terrible battle at the end. I mean, there are a lot of scenes in the movie that are like that. They're perfectly fine. They're perfectly serviceable. But they just don't do anything. Okay, so you can get rid of all of these scenes, and just give them to our two main characters to help develop them a little bit better. The problem with it is they're strangers. They're just absolutely strangers. There's no connection between the two of them. And when you see the last scene where he's dying, he's looking at the sunset, and he's being sort of tender to him and compassionate to him, you go, that's what this movie needed the entire time. It needed a conflict between two people that cared about each other. And you could have done that. And before anybody says, oh, but the comics were blah, 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 who cares about the comics? This is a movie. I guarantee you 95% of the people that went and saw this movie and liked it never read the damn comic, okay? The only reason that this is even a movie is because the Marvel Universe has made a bunch of movies. Because it exists, and because they know anytime they make a Marvel movie, it's going to sell. And they've been doing a great job of making the movies compelling. So here's how I would have done it. Don't start the movie in Oakland, okay? Start the movie in Wakanda. Killmonger and Black Panther are friends, okay? They're very, very close, and they're the same age. They're cousins, after all, right? So this first scene is at Killmonger's mother's funeral. Turns out that she had a lot of the same ideas that Killmonger does, that we need to be out in the world. There are people that are being treated unfairly, they're being oppressed. There are a lot of dictators out there that are taking advantage of people, and that the Wakanda way of life and the technology and what they have could benefit and lift up the rest of the people around these areas. So she's told not to get involved. This is the backstory. She's told not to get involved in some of these conflicts that are happening. She does anyways, and she ends up dying, okay? Then a fight breaks out. Killmonger's father blames the king and says, you should have helped her. When she came to you and said that she wanted to run these missions, you should have helped her instead of forbidden her. And then she did it behind all of our backs, and she died because of it. And he goes, no, I was right to do this. I don't want to invite all of this, all this attention to our nation. I don't want to expose us. It's not our job to be the policeman of the world and to be involved in every single thing. We're going to lead by example. How can we lead by example, though? Because no one knows who we are. That's the fight. And that's sort of takes after the dialogue and the discussions that are being had in the first act of the original film. So, okay, Killmonger's dad says, you know what, I've had it. My wife was right. You're wrong. I'm leaving. He leaves with Killmonger. The king says, if you leave and you do this, you're not coming back. He says, boom, I don't care. So he leaves. Then you cut over to Oakland. Turns out 2 years later, Killmonger's a little bit older, and the king comes in and says, we know what you did. We know we've been monitoring you. We know you've been, gun running, and you've been helping out these resistance movements in these other areas. And then when we got attacked by Andy Serkis's character and our vibranium was stolen, we traced it back and we found out that it was you. And you can't do that. And a lot of people, innocent people, died in that explosion. And he goes, well, I shouldn't have had to steal it. It was my birthright. He goes, nothing is your birthright. You've disobeyed everything. You've caused a lot of people harm and danger, blah, 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 blah. You have to come back and face trial with me. He says, I'm not going to face trial. There's a scuffle. He dies. Killmonger's like behind the walls or something and, sees his father dying. He's like, no, Dad. Then he runs away. They can't find him, so they do the cover-up like they do in the actual story. They say, oh, he mixed up with some bad people, and then he ended up getting killed. Okay, so then you flash forward. Black Panther hasn't been given the title yet. He hasn't been given the crown. He hasn't gone through the coronation yet. But they get a lead that Andy Serkis's character, who is responsible for blowing up the factory or whatever it is, I don't know how they make vibranium, the refinement area, they've got a lead on him. And he says that he wants to go over there and take him and bring him back. And they say he's going to be heavily guarded. He goes before the council. The council says he's heavily guarded. The CIA is involved in this. You're going to expose us. I don't think this is the wise thing to do. And you're not even king yet. We haven't even gone through this process yet. He says, well, there's no time to wait for, for tradition and for all this nastiness. Everyone knows that I'm going to be the king. I need to go and do this right now. They say, if you mess this up and you expose us, that's on you. And he sort of, goes his own way, being arrogant, which I think would be a great quality for Black Panther, to show him to be that he's not perfect. He's not completely altruistic. He makes mistakes. So he goes over there. Things go sideways. He doesn't catch Andy Serkis. He comes back, and people are pretty pissed. Now, that's important, Because when Killmonger comes in the film and says, I'm going to fight you, people just sort of kind of rally to him pretty quickly, right? Like, where is this fractious council that we should be seeing? Where is all this division that needed to be there? Like, in the beginning, everyone's like, no, we don't oppose him, no, we don't oppose him, no, we're glad to have Black Panther. And then they just turn their backs on him. It's completely unprompted. Setting it up where he's arrogant and he makes a mistake, and then Killmonger comes in and he's a known person, he actually has a justifiable reason to challenge him, and they said, we thought you were dead, and he brings them the body of Andy Serkis. That's how you show that there was division there. And when he comes in, he's not looking at a stranger, Black Panther, I mean. When he sees Killmonger, he's looking at one of his best friend that's been gone, that he thought was dead. He's looking at his best friend, and now his best friend, the first thing he does is he comes in and says, I want to challenge you. And so that fight would be different. He wouldn't just be like, okay, well, I got to fight this guy. It would be, I don't want to fight you. And it's certainly not going to be to the death. And it's going to be to yielding. So when he makes it, so in the fight that I would do, you have the one fight, by the way, not two of them, which is unnecessary. He ends up stabbing Forrest Whitaker. Fine. I mean, you could keep that or throw that away. You don't even really need to have Forrest Whitaker in that movie, to be honest with you. Not that I have anything against Forrest Whitaker, but it's another one of those things I don't know if you need. And he ends up throwing him over the side of the waterfall, which surprises everybody. They go, this guy is changed for the worse. After that scene, you can sort of chug things along the way they were, especially because you're already cutting out the fighter pilot scene, and you're cutting out the guerrilla tribe scene. You can sort of give more time for the characters there to actually interact with Killmonger and to hear more about him and more about his ideas. Another idea I had, and I'm not sure if it's maybe a little bit too, soap opera-y, but if that's a word, but it could still work too. Instead of having Black Panther's ex-girlfriend be his ex-girlfriend, okay, maybe when she was a little kid, she was always in love with Killmonger, but then he left, and she was sort of heartbroken over that, and maybe Black Panther was always after her and hot on her, but she didn't really agree with him, and she didn't agree with the king, or maybe she just wasn't into him, okay? So when Killmonger comes back, and his ideas that he's proposing are actually kind of in line with hers, he's just doing it a different way, you could take some time for the two of them to actually dialogue with one another, and to say, I don't think what you're doing is correct. I don't think we should be killing these people. This is going to cause a lot of death. This is going to cause a lot of chaos. And he goes, you haven't seen what I've seen. Right? You haven't lived through this. I'm telling you, this is the only way that it works. Now that's good. Now suddenly she has to question, right? Now she has to look at Killmonger as going, maybe you're right. Maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe this is exactly what we need. And then to have her conflicted over that. So that's what Black Panther needed this whole time, was it needed just to focus on these two guys and to focus on the one thing that really divides them the most, which is the means, right? And how they go about getting to their destination. It would have made the fight scene at the end a lot more compelling. It would have made it would have made the death scene at the end where he's at the sunset, it would have made that much heavier, especially if throughout the film it looked like Killmonger could be saved. Like they were having conversations. It looked like maybe he could come around, but he over time he's hardened his heart, and he has these brief moments where it looks like he would like to give compassion, and he would like to do it a different way, right? Like give him, so that he's not just a villain. He's the adversary. That would have brought so much more life to this. Instead, the third act is just a mess. It's just a lot of noise and not much going on there in that. Right, like that final battle is just all over the place, not good, right? Like there's something wrong with the choreography. I mean, I'll give them credit that they didn't do a lot of shaky cam, and they didn't, which happens a lot where a couple actors don't really know how to fight, and so they don't look very convincing fighting, so they just get the camera very up close and they shake it around, so that way it gives the illusion of fighting. I like that they pulled back and they had these big open shots of all of the action, especially in the casino scene. I liked that they were doing it. It almost looked like they were taking a note from some of the old Jackie Chan films, where they were just sort of placed like this, and then you'd have the action occurring, and you just slowly follow it. But, you know, because these guys aren't fighters, and it's not any fault of their own, they didn't spend 15 years practicing martial arts, everything looks a little slow, looks a little unconvincing, and particularly in the last fight scene, there's like no stakes. It doesn't look like anyone's even dying. Even though people are dying in there, it doesn't look like people are dying. It doesn't actually look like a civil war where people that care about each other are hurting each other. Like, people are just like getting hit by rhinos and flying 50 feet and then shaking it off, and Black Panther's not at risk of anything, you know, whether he gets hit by a ship, hit by a rhino, tackled by 15 of the best warriors in Wakanda. There's no obstacles to this man. He cannot be harmed. So there's no stakes there. It's just a lot of noise that didn't need to happen. What needed to happen was the fight between Killmonger and Black Panther. I don't think he needed a giant civil war. Not to mention it didn't look good anyways. So that's it. Yeah. That's it. That's how I think that's how I think the movie would have been better. Also, I would have accepted keeping in Andy Serkis for the entire movie just because I thought he was so good in that role. But yeah. Also, maybe if I'm being a little nitpicky, even though I said I wouldn't be, I don't know, maybe better graphics on the ancestral plane, because it looks like a backdrop for Lion King. It looks really goofy and kind of stupid. But yeah, that's it. All in all, Black Panther, good movie. Check it out. See what you think. This is great.